Okie dokie!
Well, friends, we find ourselves here again discussing Star Trek Lower Decks. Boy, does it feel like it's been a very long time since we've been here to do it. But before we get to the episode, I did make a little oopsie in my last video.
Defend yourself.
As Worf requested, my defense, as flawed as it may be,
Stupid sexy.
Paramount Plus. Yeah, I know, they got the episode title wrong. I knew it didn't sound right, but it's Lower Decks. I thought it might be a clever pun or just another way to phrase something, but I really should have just assumed it was wrong and fixed it on my own. Anywho, let's crack into Season 5, Episode 2, Shades of Green, or I certainly at least hope that's what it's called. Either way, spoilers lie ahead. We get not one, not two, but three, count it, 3 stories in this episode. Sure, they don't all share equal weight, but that does lead me to something I've been feeling for a while now, even if it's not something I've articulated before. Somewhere along the road, Lower Decks did figure out how to really balance their stories pretty damn well. Since this is the final season, or at least they're touting it as such, I do feel the need to comment on it just a little bit here. I recall very early days, the first season, maybe the first half of the first season, that the show felt kind of out of step sometimes. But somewhere along the road, they've really gotten a handle on it now. The A and B plots are very well balanced and fleshed out, and they can even give a C story that contains some weight and emotion, and they're able to package all of this in a 20-some-odd minute episode, and I think that's just high praise. We continue on with some of the fallout of last episode. The on-the-nose continuation stuff deals with the Tendi and Azure family, the Orions, the Blue Orions, all of that stuff. But we also get some character carryover, which is most notably involving, if not explicitly stated, the character of Boimler, who is absolutely trying to put into practice almost everything to make himself identical to the Altverse version from last episode, as well as a little bit of Rutherford, who is clearly attempting to keep his Tendi hopes alive, whereas Rutherford just kind of gave up and didn't do that. Now, this leads me to a bit of a question that's left over from last episode. Was the other version of the Cerritos truly parallel in both universe and time? That's to say, some of the things in the episode seem to be a little bit more, in the future than where we see our current crew. Most notably the statement of, oh yeah, Tendi went off to join the Orion Pirates and never came back. This seemingly implies that she was gone for a much longer period of time than in our main show. Also things like Captain Freeman being transferred and Mariner's spell as captain, while still making sense if they did take place in the past, they would make a little more sense if that too was being viewed from a slightly more futuristic vantage point. Digressions are the name of the game if you come here. I just find this a personally interesting thread to pull on, just in case it becomes a plot point down the road. Back on the farm, which just might be foreshadowing a future episode, let's talk about these stories as a whole instead of jumping back and forth per the episode. The Orion or the Oran Civil War, which was really more of just a 2-house or 2-clan power struggle, whatever it was fun, but it wasn't the most unique idea ever put to screen. Getting the sibling stories between Devana and Derek was nice, especially with the revelation that a little green Tendi will soon be arriving. It's always fun to see some solar ships, and the race to determine the victory of the House Cup or just whatever it was exciting enough. Especially cool to me was the sound effect of the classic TOS photon torpedoes.
But sail ships don't have weapons! I knew.
We also had a mutiny, which was fine, but it does strike me that we've now had 3 mutinies or almost mutinies in only 2 episodes. I sense a theme emerging? You know what else is an emerging theme? You joining the channel, like these fine folks.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Glad you had a little story for yourself today, buddy.
With that out of the way, let's talk Bointers. We officially have a new numbered list to join the rules of acquisition.
Must I quote you the 76th rule of acquisition? Every once in a while, declare peace. It confuses the hell out of your enemies.
And Leffler's laws.
Law 17, when all else fails, do it yourself.
I know, it's actually called Robin's laws, but come on, alliteration is so much cooler. The DEC Capitalismisation story was a good backdrop for the events, and excuse me, I need to pause for a moment because How the heck did I just say the word decapitalismisation? I did it again. How is that even conceivable? It was a good backdrop for the events of the plot, but I'm glad they didn't actually focus the entire story around it, because I'm not sure it could have held up to more than just jokes and references if it was doing all of the load bearing on a story in and of itself. And speaking of the jokes, this is where I found most of the funny parts to be enjoyable. The sharing of a comm badge bit really worked for me.
Glad to hear it. Love that you two are sharing a comm badge.
I don't know why, it just really did. I also really enjoyed the service droids and their wacky contributions.
I have failed as a guard and a gardener.
Now, while I caught on to the redistribution of wealth plot point fairly early, the one where the Orions would end up with the gold and the jewels being removed from this formerly capitalist planet, I did really fall for the dead ensigns fake out. For a few minutes, I really did think they were going to go there. They were going to take that plot point and run with it, letting those ensigns die under Boimler and just stay dead. While I'm glad they didn't do that, I really do wonder what the story would look like going forward if they had. Now, possibly, we're going to see some sort of alternate reality eventually where that is the case, or maybe we're going to learn that they should have died, but only by Primler stealing ideas from Alt-Boim, they were able to impart the Bointer, which saved their lives. So more corruption to the timeline by him stealing that pad. Pivoting to the C story now, we get some Rutherford and T'Lyn action. No, not that kind of action. Engineering, dummy. Overall, I think that was a pretty sweet addition, and by sweet I mean emotionally, not like, sweet dude, that was radical. We get to see that Rutherford's hurting without Tendi, and that T'Lyn is trying to reach out to ease his pain and to kind of increase their friendship. This is not clear to him at the time, of course. What's also really cute is that it seems that T'Lyn is also attempting to reach out for a bit of friendship and connection. I really love the little detail that while she finished fixing the Sequoia shuttle herself, she also took the time to doodle herself into that little group of friends. As a quick little palate cleanse before I get emotional again, Goodgie! I commented last season that I would really hate for them to have just forgotten that he was installed here to help, and they haven't done that. Sure, we don't have Jack coming back to voice him in every episode and every plot, but continuity is maintained, baby. Back to the tears, we get Tendi back on board. I was personally very surprised just how much this scene actually hit me. Sure, she's been gone a long time as far as the real world that we live in, but in the episodes, it's only been a couple of episodes since we saw her on the Cerritos with the rest of her friends, and they were really able to give something an emotional impact that really wasn't all that much time if you're binging through the show. Somehow, they made it work, and I am really glad that they did. So there we have it, another pretty solid episode. I might put it ever so slightly below the premiere, but I can't say it did anything wrong, and it both held my attention quite well while still delivering some pretty solid humor and character moments, and it's certainly proving that Lower Decks hasn't jumped the shark or overstayed its welcome, which only makes it sadder that we're getting so close to the end. But what are your thoughts? Did you like this episode of Lower Decks? What do you think we're going to have to look forward to the rest of this season? And do you truly believe that this is the end of the line? Whatever you think, leave all of that down below, and while you're there, like, share, subscribe, join, and do all the YouTube things. But until next time...
Wait, Boims, don't move. There's something on your face.
Is it a bug?
Worse, it is a weird little mustache.